Have you been to these other channels lately? There's a number of channels that are focusing on what occurred just a couple days ago off the Cascade Seduction Zone. Actually, it's quite a few. One of them is, I'm not going to mention any names, of course, it's unprofessional. It's very good with sky phenomenons and UFOs and analyzing the videos or pictures that subscribers send in. And another channel is very, very thorough with Yellowstone, which now I'm starting to have doubts. But these channels say that they don't understand what's happening off the Cascade, or the earthquakes are not going to set off the Cascade Seduction Zone. And we are going to look at computer simulations and get an opinion from one channel. But it's amazing that these so-called channels, come on like they know exactly what's happening. Please be cautious about going to these other channels and getting misinformation, okay? Because there's a lot floating around. And I've been studying earthquakes for a number of years, including the magnetic reversal process, since 2011. But there's a lot going on, and we're going to look at some of these areas for the last 48 hours since the last update that I put up. And, this is Earth Changes channel, and I focus on Earth throughout the world, not just parts of America, okay? The other day, when I woke up, I said, that region's going to look similar to what's happening in Hawaii with killer whale. And I woke up this morning for the second morning, and it has. Now, the indications of Hawaii killer whale, you can see the indications, right? And then if you look at what's happening off the Cascade Seduction Zone, you can see the indications as well. Similar, but not as much as what's happening with killer whale. So we're going to focus on some areas in this region, and this is for 48 hours, and a lot has taken place. And this area, I'm going to click on to show you, but here in just a moment. But something's going on, and these earthquake fault lines do interact. They interact with other fault lines, and a couple of these channels, said they don't, or they said you have nothing to worry about, but you do, okay? As far as being concerned, not to worry about, okay? But look how many occurred in the last 48 hours in this region. That's the hydrothermal vents this channel's been focusing on for over a year. Also did a video on it, but you can see the indications. They're going wider now. And this area is where the fault line hits the Cascade Seduction Zone fault line, as well as the San Andreas Fault. So, what I'm getting at, Earth Changes channel focuses on what's happening with the Earth and as it's changing. Okay? And yes, I'm American, but there's more going on than just America. And that is what makes Earth Changes channel different from others. Because I'll have international subscribers, people throughout the world, and they want to know what's happening in their region, such as Indonesia, the Philippines, New Zealand, South America. So this channel focused on more than America, okay? And a lot's going on in North America, no doubt, but a lot's going on throughout the world, like this region, Indonesia. All of these was recorded over the last 48 hours. This is very important to understand because it leads into volcanic activity, which we know what happened on that island. So this channel covers New Zealand, but also what's happening with the oceans of the Pacific as well as the Atlantic, the tectonic plates, as well as major fault lines. So in this video, we're going to look at some simulations. We're all going to listen to, we're going to listen to an individual that is the first notification that when I go there to keep up with what's happening with solar flares, CMEs, as well as his opinion on the magnetic reversal process, which basically different from mine because I don't receive a grant. I'm independent, alternative researcher, and I don't receive a grant from the government or corporations or nonprofit organizations as well. It's very important to keep up with what's happening throughout the world. Okay? The world. If you want a quick update, there's several other channels that will give you a 5-minute or 10-minute update when one significant earthquake takes off, like a magnitude 6. They'll do a 5 or 10-minute, video to go over that. I don't, because I'm busy. I have a lot of going on in my life. I have Deep Truth, Deep Impact, as well as what's going on with, the other platform, such as Brighton, as well as Patreon, and a spiritual channel called Deep Truth. So there's a lot happening, and we're gonna go over this, but I can't stop for a magnitude 6 earthquake and report on that. But there's other channels that do an excellent job on that. And if you prefer that, then I suggest you subscribe to those channels. Because working with 6 different channels now and 3 different platforms, it takes a lot. But I want to say thank you for your understanding and thank you for your concern. But let's go to the individual. Ben Davison, suspicious observer. Over 500,000 subscribers. And he's right on. And I'm telling you, if you want to know what's happening with the sun and the universe, this is the individual to go to. Okay? He's very thorough. And I agree with him about 80%, but let's check out what he has to say.
Looking off the coast of Oregon, we have a sharp wag of the finger and then some good news. First, for people pointing out the names of the individual faults within the overall Cascadia danger zone, they don't seem to realize that they are all interconnected and that it is well established that one earthquake can trigger another up to 1,000 miles away. Jabbering about the name of the individual fault within the Cascadia region is literally inane. However, the number of magnitude 5 events has slowed, and yesterday, the top marks we were able to show were 5.8 and 5.5, so we're lower in magnitude as well. We're keeping eyes on that today.
So there you have it. And here it is. That is where the San Andreas Fault leads up to the Cascade Subduction Zone. And the hydrothermal vents is in that area. So they can set off other fault lines thousands of miles away. So in this simulation here, I'm going to show you how these fault lines can interact together. They are entangled together, some of them. One may be on top of the other, or one is running parallel, like you can see here. And this is San Francisco right here, where the San Andreas Fault moves into the Pacific Ocean. But now you can understand what I'm talking about and what Mr. Davison was talking about. Don't kid yourself. These fault lines are connected and can interact together thousands of miles away. Thousands of miles away. It's called vibrations. Intense vibrations. And as you can see right there, that is San Francisco. And that is the major fault line of the San Andreas. So you have to be cautious when people tell you on these channels that you have nothing to worry about if you live on the West Coast. You should be concerned about it, okay? This simulation here shows how the Cascade Subduction Zone can take off and go all the way up to Seattle, Washington, but also can go into Vancouver, parts of Canada, all the way up to Alaska, actually. There's Eugene. I used to live there. And then you have Portland. But don't kid yourself. You should be aware of these events. I wouldn't worry about them, actually, but I would be prepared to have some type of evacuation in case a tsunami warning comes out. Okay. But you get the point. You get what I'm saying, right? It can spread, and they can interact with each other. The vibrations from these earthquakes can intensify and set other fault lines off. Okay. It's not rocket science. I was very surprised that one channel, she said, you know, you don't have nothing to be concerned about. It's not going to set off the Cascade Subduction Zone. And that's very misleading because it can. In fact, that one area can set off the major fault line that's San Andreas. Okay? And I was disappointed that that individual would say something like that. As you can see here in this illustration, it can go all the way to Palm Springs, going south, but it can go north as well. It depends on where the indication comes from and which direction. Now, in this simulation here, it starts at the Salton Sea. And as you can see, it can reach San Francisco very, very quickly, within just a few minutes. So these fault lines can interact together. They are entwined together. What I mean by that, they can be on top of each other but cross over. And when it happens, it can be devastating. It can spread very quickly. Like Mr. Davison said, they can affect other fault lines within 1,000 miles away. So it is something to be concerned about. I would not worry about it because that gets into fear and you don't want to go there. But I would have some type of evacuation in case something happens well, you can get in your car and leave immediately if it deals with a tsunami. If it's a major earthquake, you're not going to be able to go too far because of the interstate or the highways are going to have cracks in it. And you don't want to be driving over a bridge after something like that happens. And then the weight of multiple vehicles on top of that bridge can collapse. Los Angeles, that area I'm very concerned about. I'm concerned about the whole area of Southern California because the plates can shift, just like this illustration. And what occurred in Alaska in 1964 is 10.5 happened. And there was 20 feet of plate adjustment. And this simulation here, it shows how a tsunami coming from the Cascade subduction zone can affect Hawaii, southern part of Alaska. It can go all the way to Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Asia, New Zealand, Australia. So I wanted to show everyone these simulations so they can make up their own mind if this is very significant or not. I believe it is significant. I believe people in those regions should keep their eye on what's happening. Be alert, have your bug out bag, whatever you want, to be able to leave very quickly. I'm going to take you to the Cascade to show you another illustration dealing with the Cascades tsunami. This is looking west, so if it breaks and happens, it can go to the west, but also because of the distance between the subduction zone, it can go to the east, as you can see here. Back in the 1700s, a massive earthquake took place. And how do they know? Because of this. The rings belonging to the trees, the forest died. And the reason it died was the salt water. As you can see here, you can see the different colors between the top, the black, white, black. And it basically takes about 11.5 hours to get to Japan. And this has happened before. January 26th, back in the 1700s, over 300 years ago. Now, this fault line is very dangerous because it's locked in. It's locked. And it hasn't made the adjustment in quite some time. So this is serious. And like I said, the water can go back to the east, and it can go into Seattle, but also reaches parts of Oregon. Here it shows it can go in both directions. And that water can be compressed and go up into the Bay of Seattle. So it can go east and west. And a lot of people are not, they don't know that it could cause major flooding towards the east as well as the west. Less than 30 minutes. And it can produce the waves all the way up into the mountain ranges, but not high up in the mountains, such as 1,000, 2,000 feet. And it can go all the way into California. As you can see right there. A lot of people live around the ocean because it's beautiful. But don't kid yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Please. This is very serious. It's nothing other than being prepared and being ready to evacuate as soon as possible if you can get a warning. If it's in the middle of the night, you're not going to get a warning. So I'm trying to do the best I can to educate people on the dangers of a very significant area that can set off the Cascade Seduction Zone as well as the San Andreas Fault. To me, I believe it's very important. And also try to have some type of evacuation area that you can go to and have plenty of food and supplies, because there'll be thousands of people evacuating. So there you have it. So now let's go here. So we're going to go here. I'm going to show you what's going on for the last 24 hours. But first, I want to show you 48 hours. This is the New Madrid fault line, and a 1.5 occurred December the 8th, yesterday. Also, I want to bring it in for you so you can see what I'm talking about. A 1.6 occurred today. And I want to explain something. California can get warnings before a major earthquake occurs. Okay, give you an example. Look at these. The difference between, now this is for 7 days. The difference with the New Madrid, it doesn't. The one that happened back in the 1800s, the Mississippi River flowed backwards for 3 days. And it was major earthquake. They don't know what magnitude it was. And all of these occurred. This is a 1.8 on the 4th, 1.8 on the 5th, 1.4 took place on the 7th. But you get my drift, right? 2.7 on the 3rd, which I reported on that. And then over here in Tennessee, a 2.1 on the 3rd, 2.4 on the 8th, and the Carolina, 2.2 on the 5th. And these occurred off the coast. 2.6 on the 7th, 2.4 on the 8th, 2.3 on the 8th as well. Now I'm going to bring this back for the last 24 hours. A 5.1 on the 8th. South Sandwich Ridge, a 5.0 took place, and that was on the 8th as well. But also a 6 occurred, which I reported on, and it happened on the 3rd. I focus on this area as well, the South Sea of India. As you can see, this is for 24 hours, and this is for 48, so nothing happened. But here, yes, a 4.7 on the 8th, a 5.1 on the 8th, a 4.4 on the 8th, 4.6 on the 8th. This area here, 4.6 took place on today, and a 5.7 today, 4.9 on the 7th, 5.4 on the 7th as well, a 4.7 on the North Island of New Zealand, on the 7th. And at 4.1 today, this is a major fault line that goes right through the island. So I just wanted to give you a brief update. Try to keep this down to 30 minutes. This occurred yesterday on the 8th at 4.6. So a lot's going on. I just wanted to give you the information dealing with how these fault lines are interacting together. It's not over with yet. That area off the coast of Oregon, we're going to see more and more activity in these areas. I will update on earthquakes worldwide Monday. Okay, Monday. I have a lot going on, and I'm busy, and I want to say thank you all for your patience and understanding. As you can see, they're spreading out now, and there's hundreds of them. Okay? So, I hope everyone tries to enjoy their weekend. If something major happens, like a 7 or higher, I will stop what I'm doing and give you an update on that region or anywhere else on Earth. Because this is Earth Changes channel, and I cover the world, not showing favoritism just because I live in that country. Please be safe, everyone. We are getting more and more of these indications because we're at 38.5 degrees with the magnetic north. And if you are not aware what that means, you can simply go to the playlist and look for the videos, and it will explain. Thank you all. The weekend's coming up. Be safe, everyone. And may the Heavenly Father continue to watch over you and your loved ones. God bless everyone.